Hey everyone, Seth Van here for Out of the Box Review, and tonight I'm going to talk about a movie I just got home from the theater for, and that is Kingsman 2. There's the poster right there, The Golden Circle. Now let's just get off of all the information we have here. The movie stars Taron Egerton, Colin Firth, Mark Strong, which those three were actually in the first movie. This movie's villain is Julianne Moore, and we also have Channing Tatum. It's directed by Matthew Vaughn. Now, I'm trying to keep this review as non-spoilerish as I possibly can. Story-wise, we start out, Kingsmen are getting wiped out. They're getting killed right and left. No one knows what's happening. How do I say this? People that do recreational drugs and illegal drugs all around the world are starting to get sick because the drugs are being supplied by our supervillain of the movie, Julianne Moore. Now, with only a few of the Kingsmen surviving, which you could probably guess if you've seen the trailer or know anything about this movie, they actually go to the USA and enlist in what we call the Statesmen, which is actually the American version of the Kingsmen, the Kingsmen's cousins, for help to take out the bad guy. That's kind of the gist of the story without, trying to spoil it too much. Now, if you've seen the trailer, you know that Colin Firth is back. I was shocked. In fact, I just read an article with Matthew Vaughn, the director, and he wasn't very happy that in the trailer that they actually showed Colin Firth coming back. In the first one, we all know, now this is a spoiler, if you haven't seen the Kingsman, turn it off right now. But in the first film, we see Samuel L. Jackson point blank shooting Colin Firth in the head and killing him. He didn't appear in the rest of the movie. He was dead, gone. So to bring him back in the second film was awesome. I mean, I loved him in the first film. He's kind of the father role to Taron Egerton, who in the first film went from street kid punk to Kingsman. So just the dynamic that those two characters had was wonderful. So I was really pleased to see him back in the second film. Story-wise, it was fine. It was good. Some things I liked about it is, of course, the characters. Taron Egerton, Colin Firth, Mark Strong, who's kind of the gadget teacher character of the Kingsmen. He's cool. I enjoyed him in both these films. I didn't really like Julianne Moore. I thought they could have done a lot more with her being a villain. In the first film, we had Samuel L. Jackson, and his character was just, I thought was brilliant. His lisp, the way he dressed, just kind of his story and where he was going. As far as she goes, the whole movie, she doesn't leave her hideout. She sits in the top of her mountain for the whole movie, and that's it. She goes nowhere. They eventually have to get to her to fight her in the end, and non-spoiler, defeat her, not defeat her. The new characters were great. We do have Jeff Bridges. I didn't talk about him being in the cast, but he is in it for, maybe 10 minutes or so. This is a kind of a gripe, non-gripe that I have. Channing Tatum is in it. I personally like Channing Tatum. We see him in the preview. We didn't really know quite how much of a role he was going to have in the film. He doesn't have much of a role, and that's kind of a bummer. The movie kind of sets him up to obviously have a bigger role in the third film. I'm assuming they're going to make a third film. Yeah, I was kind of bummed about it. Really, these movies kind of remind me, and I was thinking about this earlier, they're kind of like James Bond, and they're kind of like Austin Powers. It's a rated R movie. It's hardcore fighting, shooting, killing. We have bodies going into meat grinders. It's about as bad as you can get as far as that goes. But it's kind of funny at the same time, which I don't know, maybe it's the British thing, just kind of reminded me of Austin Powers a little bit also. Some things I didn't like, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, is if they had a saved Colin Firth from showing up until the actual movie and not shown it in the trailer, that would have been brilliant. That would have been great. That would have been a huge comeback, surprise, blown away. I think you really would have saved a lot there. This is one of those movies, and this is good, and this is kind of bad. You gotta turn your brain off going into this kind of a movie. I mean, you did in the first one also, so it's not really that big of a deal. But you don't want to sit there and try to overanalyze this movie, because you're not. I mean, it's in a world that obviously doesn't exist in our world, and there's a lot of crazy, weird things, unbelievable things that happen. So if you can just take this movie with a grain of salt, eat your popcorn, drink your drink, get a laugh, get a kick out of the film, you'll be just fine. It's long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It has some amazing scenes in it. Loved it. But I thought it ended a little too quickly. The story wrapped up a little too fast for being such a long movie. So I know that when we left, we were kind of like, this movie was really long for what it was. And again, I talked about this earlier. Too little Channing Tatum. I like Channing Tatum. You show him in the trailer. He's not really in it. So overall, would I recommend this film? Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you liked Kick-Ass, this is done by the same director. If you enjoyed the first Kingsman, you gotta watch it. I mean, it's definitely that good. If I were giving it stars, I would say probably 3 out of 5 stars. Wasn't the best. I think a lot of times, movie number 2, it's hard to beat the first one. Same with like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that came out a few months ago. It was great. I loved it. Was it better than the first? Probably not, because I think, with the first movies, you don't know what to expect. And going into Kingsman, The Golden Circle, I kind of knew what to expect. My expectations were there. So when you have expectations for a movie, it's a lot of times hard for that movie, at least for me personally, to meet those expectations. So I do say, go to the theater, spend the money, watch it, enjoy it. Like I said, turn your brains off, get a kick out of it. It's a fun 2 hours and 20-minute ride. Definitely rent it when it comes out. So with that being said, that's the end of this review for Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Stay tuned for our YouTube channel for more videos and reviews, and also check us out below at our Twitter account. And we'd love to have any comments or suggestions or anything like that we can do to make this page better. So we will see you next time for Out of the Box Reviews.
Ho, 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 ho.